first week? What do you feel like you've learned about the group?
They've made tremendous growth from the end of spring till now. You know, we didn't start when fall camp started. It wasn't the 16th practice, right? We've continued to grow, and we haven't had to go back and do a lot of the foundational stuff. You know, so we were able to be more aggressive with our installation, be able to be more aggressive with our line of scrimmage calls and what we can and cannot do. And you have to do that when you have a veteran at quarterback, right? When you have a veteran at quarterback like Cam Ward, there's only so many things you put in on day one, right? On day two or day three. But Cam Ward, if he sees something that might be going in on day 8, he might check to it. He might audible to it. So we have to make sure that we as an offensive line are ready for that, right? So because we don't want to stunt his growth, right? So like I told the offensive line, this isn't pre-algebra. Okay, this is calculus right now, right? So I'm typically, as an offensive line coach, I'll coach to like the lowest denominator in the room, right? When you start fall camp, I'm coaching to Jalen Rivers, I'm coaching to Inez Cooper, I'm coaching to Zach Carpenter, I'm coaching to Francis Mauigoa, I'm coaching to Matt McCoy, Samson Okunova. That's who I'm coaching to, and the other guys just got to catch up. Why? Because I got to catch up to Cam Ward. So it's a little bit different dynamic when you have a veteran at quarterback who can check to something that ain't gonna be in till day 3 or day 4, right? So it's been awesome, and they've been swimming along. I mean, they're gonna rise to the level of your expectations.
With Carpenter,
so we just keep going.
With Carpenter,
yeah.
Just how does he look, especially his communication, his chemistry with Cam?
It's always been great. I mean, his communication and chemistry with Cam has been good since he was here, since Zach was here in the spring. I mean, his communication, I know Cam wasn't. His communication has been phenomenal. You know, Cam was, right? Yeah, I lose such a sack, right? But his communication has been awesome. There's no issue on that. So like now, you know, I'll go shower, we'll go to meetings, and typically when we get out of those meetings, their meetings don't start till 3:15, right? Well, you'll pass by the old line room, and it'll be Cam and Zach and Jalen Rivers, right? They'll be in there watching film, and they're not watching film to say, hey, look how cool that is. They're watching film, hey, why'd you guys make that line of scrimmage call? And they'll say, well, Cam, because they were in this front, so this is a line of scrimmage call that fits with that. So they're both very cerebral. You know, Zach is a more quiet, demeanored guy. Cam's a lot more vocal, right? But they fit. They mesh well together.
Do you have a sense yet for if this year's overall line?
Oh, heck, I don't know if they're going to be as good as last year's. I mean,
not just that, but also depth-wise, if there's more depth. You know, in terms of guys you're comfortable playing.
Honestly, from a depth standpoint, as an offensive line coach, you're looking to start the season. I would say that would be anybody in the country, any offensive line coach in the country. You're looking to have 8 or 9 guys that you feel you can go out there and on game 1 or game 2 or game 3, and that they can play for you. That's it. You're not looking for 15. That's la la land, right? If you get 10, that's great, right? But when it comes to game day, it really then becomes like an NFL, right? In the NFL, those guys go with 7 or 8 offensive linemen who they feel can win on Sunday, right? It's very much like that with college, right? You've got a practice organizational chart, and then you've got a game organizational chart, right? And your practice organizational chart has got to be deep enough where you can get the reps with the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, and sometimes the 4s, right? In a game, it ain't that. In a game, it's, hey, your top 5 guys, some guy goes down, who's the next best guy, right? So if you have 8 or 9 of those, that's a luxury. So that's what you're looking for. We had it last year. We already have it now this year, in my opinion. What you're looking for as a coach is you're looking to continue to grow that.
Coach, what did you see from your group, today's practice, full pads? What did you think of your group? And then also how much things changed
Yeah,
today?
well, you know what's great with full pads, honestly, there's no difference for an offensive line. With the O-line, when you're in spiders or you're in shells or you're in full pads, right, we don't cut, right? We don't cut, so, right, boom. We don't tackle. You can only tackle to the ground, I think, NCAA-wise, 3 or 4 times during camp. So today that wasn't one of those days. So today it was still FUD, which means you run through contact, but you stay off the ground, right? So it really doesn't change anything. All they're doing is they're getting used to wearing the bottoms, you know. So now when we scrimmage on Saturday, then it's live. That's a different beast now, right? Now I'm an offensive lineman. I get my hands on you. I can go work to try to bury you, right? We're not doing that here, right? We're not doing it. If we get a stunt in pass pro here, right, we're coming back, we're bumping, but we're not trying to deplete the guy and knock him down, right? That's kind of the difference, But as far as when you go full pads for an offensive line, unless you're going tackle and live, it's really not that different. We're still telling them run through contact. We're still telling them to stay up. They just got more protection. That's it. And so what I saw from them is, the defense got after our tail yesterday, and I thought we responded a lot better today than we did yesterday. Our defensive line is salty now, right? Those guys are salty. So if you even think about, hey, my mind's going to be somewhere else, they won't get after you, right? So it's awesome. The old adage, iron sharpens iron. Well, we get it every day. I get to see Mesidor against those guys. I think Mesidor is having a phenomenal camp. I know you're not asking about him, but I think he's having as good a camp of anybody in any position in our program. Well, you better, as an offensive lineman, you better come wanting to block him, because if not, that joker's going to embarrass you.
How is McCoy performing through these?
Excellent. He's been doing excellent. Matt's been doing awesome, and he's one of the guys competing for the left guard spot. To be one of those guys in that starting unit. Today with the because I know everybody always wants to ask. Today with the first group, he went with the ones at left guard. Ryan Rodriguez went with the ones at left guard. Francis Mauigoa went with the ones at left guard as well. So those guys went at that spot. So our job is we're trying to get who are the best five, and then who are the next best five, and so on down the line. He's doing fantastic.
And where are you
He's
working?
doing fantastic. We're trying to get him. Well, we don't know, right? He's never been in the game in terms of like starting a game. You go out there and mop up duty, clean up duty. That's all great. So we're trying to, he's working right now in practice to try to get himself into game shape. That's what we're doing with him.
Where are you working, Samson?
Yeah. So when Mauigoa goes to left guard, you slide Samson at right tackle. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So they all fit in the puzzle. They all fit in the puzzle. So he's doing really good too. He's progressing tremendously as well. So like I said, we got 8-9 guys that we feel right now you can go compete on a Saturday against whoever's on our schedule. So that's what we're doing.
How have you seen Francis progress, since last year, and how much of a detriment was not being able to compete in the spring for him?
For him, it was not. In the spring, heck, sometimes it's a blessing, right? Because you less wear and tear on your body. Kind of, I know he had to get some stuff cleaned up, but he's been awesome. His leadership is tremendous. He's, even though he didn't practice in the spring, it hasn't slowed him down one bit at all. So we're just looking for him to continue to progress, do a better job using his hands in pass protection, bringing his hips in the run game. So those are two little subtle things that we work on with him on a daily. With all of them. Hey, Cece, I thought your stance last year was too wide. Let's tighten your stance. So to me, it's those little things, right, that'll help him become a better player.
And one of the things about him, I'm remembering off the top of my head, I think he had 4 holding penalties most on the offensive line. How much of that is working with his hands?
It's his hands, yeah. So we got to, like we were talking about, right? We got to work on getting our hands tighter, right? And there's different ways that you can use your hands and get your hands into a defender's body without going outside. And that's just stuff that he's got to learn. It's a growing pains as a young player, as a young offensive lineman, that now he's working to fix.
What can you tell us about Markel Bell's trajectory and development since he's...
You know what? Tremendous. You're talking about a guy who, he came from Holmes Community College, and he's a guy that was well coached. His offensive line coach at Holmes and I are good friends, and so he's got a good foundation and all that. So it's about him, honestly, now, getting used to working and training in the heat outside, and to work his body. He's another one, just like Matt. We're trying to get them to practice to get themselves into game shape. You know what I'm saying? But he's an unbelievable kid, unbelievable work ethic, and I would say probably the number one thing that I tell him is that whoever he's going against is nameless, faceless, right? Whether it's Cole McConaughey or whether it's Barron or whether it's Bain, you got to treat those guys the same. And oftentimes when you get a younger offensive lineman, they're like, they're salty when they get a younger player on them. But then when they get an older vet, a guy who's crafty with his hands, you see they're a little bit more hesitant. So it's just building that confidence. Hey, listen, like I tell them, if you can swim, you can swim, right? If you can swim in 5 feet of water, you can swim in 200 feet of water. And that's what I'm trying to get across to him and some of the other younger guys.
We'll do one more for Coach Mirabal.
Rodriguez, I'll ask about him.
Oh, Ryan, man, he's been awesome. He has been awesome, and he's a guy, I can tell you that any of the 12 games that we play this year, you know, he's ready to go. You know, he's a guy that, here's what I say about him, he could start here, and he could start at any of the other, I don't know how many members in the ACC there are anymore, but he can start at any of those programs. You know, at center, he can start at any of those programs at guard, you know, and so he's doing, honestly, man, I am so happy about it for him and proud of him that he's come a heck of a long way from 2.5 years ago till now, you know, and just not only the buying into how we do things here at Miami, but reshaping his body. He's about 313 pounds, so he's a lot stouter, and then using the techniques and the fundamentals that we demand of our guys, you know, so I couldn't be happier with what he's doing and how he's doing it. And then he's a really tough kid. You know, he's a really tough kid, and he's a sneaky, really good athlete, right? So he told me he could dunk a basketball, so I had to go back and Google it and archive it, and I did. He could. So he's a good athlete, and his future here at Miami is extremely bright.